Este video llega a ustedes gracias a nuestros patrones.
Especialmente Edgar, Belki, Jason, Emilio y Dark Shadow 777.
Minyeo TV. ¡Hola, Minionatics! Bienvenidos a Minyeo TV. Yo soy Sol.
Yo soy Luna.
Y hoy es miércoles de cultura.
Y tu suelta al revés.
Y hoy miércoles estaremos reaccionando a un video que ustedes pidieron hace muchísimo tiempo y que nosotros no habíamos olvidado reaccionar a eso, pero sí lo teníamos pendiente. Y ese video es Chavacano, the Spanish-based Creole language from the Philippines
by LANGFOCUS.
So yeah, you guys recommended this video because it's a complete video that is explaining everything that we need to know about Chavacano, and you guys want us to learn and know everything about it. So yeah, here we are. We're gonna do this.
Yeah, and soon in our channel we're gonna be reacting to another video of Ana la Viajera. And that video is Can Spanish speakers understand Chavacano?
Yes, so
and
subscribe to this channel.
I know that in this video there's a Dominican person, so I am very eager to see.
We're looking forward to that.
I wanna see my people too, because so subscribe to this channel, activate the bell so you can get a notification whenever we upload that video, and many others. And what's gonna happen when you get to 20k subs?
We're gonna have a set tour.
Set tour at 20k, so subscribe now. Subscribe your friends and family and be part of the history of this channel.
And as usual, we had to remind these 70% of people who are watching this very video right now.
Wait, let me check if already is
no,
the number.
I checked this morning and it's still 70%. So what is going on with you guys? What is wrong with you? You're enjoying our videos, laughing with us, and you're not subscribing to our channel? Shame on you. Shame. So if you don't want to be a disgrace, please subscribe and activate the bell. Why not?
Yeah, let's go and watch this video. So
yes,
because it's 16 minutes long.
Yes.
Damn it.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to the LANGFOCUS channel, and my name is Paul.
Hi,
Today's
Paul.
topic is the Chavacano language, a Spanish Creole. In fact, the only Spanish-based Creole language in Asia. The name of the language comes from the Spanish word Chavacano, meaning vulgar or in poor taste. That's because Chavacano was originally considered incorrect or corrupted Spanish. Chavacano is spoken in the Philippines and is a direct result of the Philippines' history as a Spanish colony. It's not spoken by the majority of Filipinos, but by a minority living in specific areas. It's spoken in different varieties: in Cavite, a province just south of Metro Manila; in Cotabato, on the island of Mindanao; Basilan Island, to the south of Mindanao; and it's spoken by the largest number of speakers in Zamboanga, especially Zamboanga City, on Mindanao. It's notoriously difficult to find consistent statistics about the number of Chavacano speakers, but according to the United Nations Statistics Division, in 2005, there were 431,000 native speakers, including around 311,000 in Zamboanga.
No wonder, like, the majority is there.
The number of people who speak Chavacano. Zamboanga City, a city with over 1 million people, is a very diverse place with migrants from all over the Philippines.
Wait, did I just see a colmado here?
Over 1 million
This looks like a colmado. Right?
For the Philippines. And Chavacano serves as the most common lingua franca. So hundreds of thousands more people speak it as a second or third language. So what is it exactly? Is it Spanish?
No.
Well, not exactly. It's a Spanish-based Creole, meaning that Spanish is the lexifier language, the language that supplied most of the vocabulary, while the grammar is largely based on Filipino languages like Visayan, Tagalog, and Hiligayno.
And I'm glad that he clarified this, because in our comments, some people were saying like, Chavacano is closer to Portuguese, not to Spanish.
The Spanish colonial period in the Philippines began in 1521, and beginning in 1565, the Philippine Islands began to be administered from the Viceroyalty of New Spain, which was based in Mexico City. This continued until Mexico's independence in 1821, after which the Philippines were administered directly by Spain. But for those 256 years, Philippines had significant interaction with New Spain and its people. During this time, the Philippines and New Spain were connected by the galleon trade. large trading ship voyages that made the journey between Manila and Acapulco once or twice a year. This brought Filipinos in contact with Spanish-speaking workers from New Spain. While soldiers and settlers from Spain were present, soldiers and settlers from New Spain also arrived in significant numbers. One place where many newcomers settled was in Zamboanga, which the Spanish seized in 1635 in an attempt to stop attacks by Moro pirates. They established a fortress called Real Fuerza de San Jose, Royal Fort of St. Joseph. The population of this fort had a direct impact on the development of the Chavacano spoken in Zamboanga. There were Visayan warriors from Cebu and other areas, Spanish soldiers, including those from Spain, Mexico, as well as Peru, and Jesuit priests who served as Spanish Visayan translators and might have taught the others how to communicate, resulting in a pidgin language that would become the Chavacano Creole.
Wow, this is so interesting. Like
Yeah.
everybody played a role in the creation of a language. It's amazing.
Pidgin language that would become the Chavacano Creole. This fort was eventually abandoned, but some of the population remained and continued to interact with locals, while the Jesuit priests continued their conversion efforts. This both spread Chavacano and brought additional influences to the language, making it a little more Filipino and a little less Spanish. This is the kind of contact that resulted in the creation of other forms of Chavacano as well, but the exact influences were somewhat different. For example, the Chavacano spoken in Cavite has more Castilian Spanish influence and less Mexican Spanish influence, and has more Tagalog influence rather than Visayan. Now let's look at some features of Chavacano and see how it differs from Spanish. I'm focusing mainly on Zamboangueño, the Chavacano Creole spoken in Zamboanga. We'll start by focusing on the syntax, and I'll introduce additional elements as we go. While Spanish is generally SVO, Chavacano is generally VSO.
Okay.
What
so
does that mean?
Subject, verb, and object.
Ah, okay, yeah.
María,
Lava, la ropa.
sujeto, lava, verbo, la ropa, objeto. Entonces, Chavacano hace verbo primero, lava,
Lava,
subject, o sea, sujeto primero, María,
yo.
y luego la ropa, que es el objeto.
Sí,
O sea,
quiere yo contigo.
It's true.
Oh my God! Like only by knowing this rule, you
Yeah,
can
everything
construct a lot of
changes.
sentences already.
Yeah.
Tagalog or Visayan. Here's a sentence meaning, the man looked at Jose. In Spanish,
El hombre miró a José.
I love that he has like someone speaking the Spanish part, or
Yeah.
maybe it's him, right? That he knows how to speak Spanish in the Spanish from Spain.
At
accent.
first, I thought it was Google Translate.
Yeah, I thought it was Google,
But it's
now
too
I think-
perfect.
yeah. Google is not as perfect in Spanish
Yeah,
as that.
and in Chavacano.
Y mirá el hombre con José.
Ya mira el hombre con José.
In Spanish, the subject, el hombre, comes first, but in Chavacano, it comes after the verb. There are some other important things we can notice about this sentence. The verb miró, from mirar, means look in Spanish, while in Chavacano, it means both look and see. So, depending on the intended meaning, the Spanish translation might be
El hombre vio a José.
using a different verb to mean see. Also notice that the verb forms are slightly different. The Spanish verb is conjugated for the third person singular conjugation in the preterite or past historic tense. But
Yes.
Chavacano verbs are not conjugated at all. The verb mira will be the same for any subject. The only thing that can change is this extra little piece right here, which is a preverb that shows tense. Ya indicates past, ta indicates
Oh.
present,
And
and I indicates future.
This is way easier.
It's way easier. Most of the foreigners that speak, try to learn Spanish, they complain about conjugation a lot.
These are not always
Con su
used,
razón.
but can be used for clarity and for emphasis. Also notice that Chavacano uses con instead of a. Con comes from the Spanish word con, meaning with, but in Chavacano it's used as the object or accusative marker. So already we can see a number of differences between Spanish and Chavacano. Another example. Here's a sentence meaning you teach children, you being the plural form. In Spanish
Ustedes enseñan a niños.
and in Chavacano.
Te enseña ustedes na mga bata.
Again, in Spanish.
Oh, there's Tagalog influence in this sentence
Yes.
in Chavacano.
Subject comes first, and in Chavacano it comes after the verb. And you'll notice the present tense preverb ta before the verb. Na is a locative particle or preposition, which shows direction or location. Apparently it comes from Asturian. And note the difference in vocabulary for the words meaning children. In Chavacano, you'll see the phrase mga bata. Mga is a plural marker found in Tagalog, Visayan, and Hiligaynon. In Chavacano, this is sometimes used as the plural marker, and the Spanish plural form with s or es is sometimes used. Another example. Here's a sentence meaning I love you. In Spanish,
Yo te amo.
or,
Te amo.
and in Chavacano,
Amayo contigo.
or.
Taamayo contigo.
This time, the Spanish sentence is SOV, not SVO, because when the object is a pronoun, it usually comes before the verb. But in Spanish, the subject pronoun can be dropped because the person and number are clear from the conjugation of the verb. In Chavacano, however, verbs are not conjugated, so the subject pronoun is necessary. And notice that the preverb ta is optional. Earlier, we saw that con, meaning with in Spanish, is used as the object marker in Chavacano. Here, contigo, which means with you in Spanish, is used as the object pronoun. All of the subject pronouns of Spanish origin have an object pronoun equivalent like this that begins with con. There are other subject pronouns of Filipino origin, and their corresponding object pronouns are also of Filipino origin.
Okay, let's take a moment to try to process this.
Nótese, there's
Con
no female or male in the third person of the singular. L is for feminine and masculine at the same time.
Oh.
Some pronouns might come from Filipino languages because they communicate something that the Spanish pronouns couldn't communicate. Notice, for example, the first person plural pronouns, kame and kita, which come from Visayan. Some Austronesian languages, including some languages of the Philippines, distinguish between the first person plural inclusive of the listener and exclusive of the listener. Another example. Here's a sentence meaning, this is Pablo. In Spanish,
Este es Pablo.
and in Chavacano.
Si Pablo este.
Again, in Spanish, the subject comes first. It's the demonstrative pronoun este. In Chavacano, it comes after the predicate. And you can see that the pronoun is abbreviated, but it's not always so. There's actually no verb in this sentence because Chavacano has no copula. So the word order is really predicate-subject. The word si is a subject marker for personal names, which is also found in Tagalog, Visayan, and Hiligaynon. In
Wow.
Spanish, demonstrative pronouns have gender, but Chavacano has no grammatical gender. So for a female name, in Spanish it would be like this,
Esta.
Esta es Trisha.
with a change in the pronoun, while in Chavacano it would be this,
Si
Si
trichaste.
with no change in the pronoun.
Oh, pew, pew,
Another
pew.
element of the word order that is different is that adjectives come before nouns in Chavacano, not after. In Spanish we have
Hora
Hora
libre.
libre.
meaning free time, and in Chavacano we have
Libre hora.
another sentence. Here's a sentence meaning I love their house. In
Amo su
Spanish
casa.
Yo amo su casa. Amo su casa.
and in Chavacano.
Taamayo di ila casa.
Again, notice that in the Spanish sentence you can drop the subject, but in Chavacano you can't. The third person plural possessive pronoun in Chavacano is diila. The possessive pronouns typically consist of di prefixed to the beginning of the Spanish subject pronouns or to Filipino clitic pronouns. Another sentence. Here's a sentence meaning Juana or Jane bought a second dog. In Spanish
Juana ha comprado un segundo perro.
and in Chavacano.
Ya comprawan ikados pero.
Again, we see the SVO versus VSO. We see the subject marker si and a preverb in Chavacano.
Ya,
And we
de
see the word for
paso.
dog. There's one new thing to notice here. The ordinal number in Spanish is segundo, but in Chavacano it's icados. The cardinal numbers of Chavacano, like dos, are all basically the same as in Spanish, but with slightly different spelling. But while Spanish has different forms for ordinal numbers, Chavacano prefixes ica.
Oh, it's easier.
Ica 1, Ica
Ica 2,
2,
Ica 3, Ica 4. Wow. So easy.
Y aquí primero, segundo, tercero. Ah, no, no. Dice que they use primero.
Ah, primero
They
they
use
say.
primero, and then Ica 2,
Ica
Ica 3,
3,
Ica 4.
Oh.
And we use primero, segundo, tercero, cuarto, quinto, sexto, séptimo, octavo, noveno, décimo primero, décimo segundo, décimo
Ordinal number primero is used. And other Spanish ones can be used in place of the Chavacano forms too. Segundo, for example. Now let's look at a couple more sentences and see what we find. Here's a sentence meaning, the book will be published in 5 languages. In Spanish,
El libro será publicado en 5 idiomas.
word for word, it's, the book will be published in 5 languages. And in Chavacano,
El libro mensalé en 5 lenguajes.
word for word, it's,
Lenguaje.
the book, verbal prefix, come out in 5 language. In this sentence, we see that the subject comes first in both sentences. In Chavacano, SVO word order is possible. For example, it's often found in news stories that are translated from Spanish media, keeping the text as similar to the Spanish version as possible. Another thing is that in Chavacano, there's no passive form, so passive meaning is understood from context, or the action can be paraphrased. In Spanish, the sentence is explicitly future, but the Chavacano sentence doesn't have the future preverb I. It can have it, but here it doesn't. We see here that the verb is preceded by man. Man is a prefix that makes a verb distributive, meaning that the action is performed by several subjects or on several objects separately. Here, the book will be released separately 5 different times in 5 different versions. So man is used to show the distribution of the action among the different releases of the book. Man is also a prefix that can be attached to nouns and English loanwords to turn them into Chavacano verbs. Man translate, man picnic, man reply, etc. There's a similar prefix, mag, in Tagalog and Visayan. And notice that the word for languages in Spanish is idiomas, while in Chavacano it's lenguaje. In Chavacano and other languages of the Philippines, lenguaje is used to refer to languages that are spoken by communities of people, while in Spanish, lenguaje refers more to the general concept of language. So to refer to a specific human language in Spanish, idioma is the typical word. And
I was
one
gonna
last
say
sentence.
that we have the word lenguaje, but it
But
means
it's
like
in
the ability of your
general.
brain to communicate languages. That doesn't mean exactly a language.
This sentence means they left without paying for the drink. In Spanish,
Se
Se
fueron
fueron
sin
sin pagar
pagar
la
la
bebida.
bebida.
word for word, it's reflexive particle. They went without pay the drink. In Chavacano,
Ya sila no hay pagkakunel tomada.
word for word, it's
Tomada.
past tense preverb, leave, they, without, pay, object marker, definite article, alcoholic drink. This last sentence is fairly different from its Spanish equivalent. First, notice that the verbs are different. In Spanish, we see the reflexive form of the verb ir, meaning to go. The reflexive form is used to mean leave. Chavacano doesn't have this construction, so another verb is used instead. It's a derivative of the Spanish word salir,
Salir,
meaning
sí.
to go out. Sila is the third person plural subject pronoun, which comes from Tagalog and Visayan. Nuay is a negative preverb for the past tense. Conel is a combination of con, the object marker, plus el, the definite article. Finally, we have the word tomada, which means alcoholic drink in Chavacano.
Ya
Well, it's-
sale si la no hay paga con el tomada.
You know, when he was pronouncing this sentence,
I didn't understand, but now
either.
that I had the explanation, like, okay, yeah, makes sense.
Sí. But it means that we can understand more written Chavacano
Than spoken
spoken,
Chavacano.
right?
Definitely.
Spanish, it's bebida. Chavacano also has a similar word, bebe, but that is a general word for a drink, not specifically an alcoholic drink.
Okay, so tomada nada is
It's
only alcoholic.
drink. Bebida is also general in Spanish, but nobody said alcoholic drink is bebida alcohólica, but nobody's going to
say,
emphasize
yeah,
that
bebida
the bebida
alcohólica.
was alcohólica. Nobody cares.
They would say, pásame la bebida.
Pásame la botella.
Oh, okay, you can say trago.
El trago también.
Yeah,
Immediately you
el
say
trago means alcoholic beverage, definitely.
Immediately you think it's an alcoholic beverage. There's no way you say trago for a normal beverage.
Before, I mentioned that Chavacano was influenced by Mexican Spanish. There was undoubtedly some influence on the pronunciation of Chavacano, and Chavacano also contains some vocabulary that clearly came from Mexican Spanish. For example, zacate, meaning grass. This is originally a word from Nahuatl, an indigenous language of Mexico. It entered Mexican Spanish as a loanword, and then entered Chavacano via Mexican Spanish. These words are also from Nahuatl.
Madre.
Changue, meaning market, which comes from tiangue. Chongo, meaning monkey, from
Chango.
and
Oh my God.
camote, meaning sweet potato.
Camote. They have camote.
There are other words and
They say
expressions that
camote.
don't come from Nahuatl words, but are common to Mexico and maybe have special usage in Mexico. In Mexico, when you want someone to repeat something because you didn't catch what they said, you ask,
Mande?
"Mande?" This is also used in Chavacano.
Really?
I also hear that a lot of Chavacano swear words are of specific
Are they gonna say swear words?
But I'll skip those for now.
No! Well, he said for now.
For now, meaning that not in this video.
No, meaning
Chavacano
that
in
later in
Spanish
this video,
mutually
maybe.
intelligible? Well, yes and no. Some
Is the video
Chavacano
over?
speakers have told me that they can understand around 60% or more of certain varieties of Spanish, in particular European Spanish and Mexican Spanish. But this is not necessarily true for Spanish speakers who hear Chavacano. While most Chavacano speakers are familiar with the word order of English and maybe the word order of Spanish itself, Spanish speakers are generally not familiar with the word order of Filipino languages like Tagalog or Visayan. So when they hear Chavacano, they might just hear a mishmash of Spanish words, but be confused by how they're being put together in sentences.
That was us at the beginning. Like, yeah, all the words are in Spanish. It's just the order is crazy order.
Yeah, it's like, what's going on?
That was us in the maldita
In the
reaction.
maldita reaction, we were like that.
Yeah.
This is especially true for informal Chavacano, which has more influence from Filipino languages, whereas formal Chavacano is closer to Spanish. But probably with some basic exposure to the grammar, they could improve their comprehension of it quite quickly.
Exactly.
Some people argue
Thank
that
you.
Chavacano really isn't that different from other Filipino languages like Tagalog or Visayan, which contain a lot of Spanish vocabulary themselves. Chavacano just has a lot more of it.
This was a very educational,
Eye-opening.
highly important video. This video
Thank you guys
needs
for
to be
recommending it.
protected.
Guys,
Seriously.
thank you for recommending this video. Yes, I understand much more now. And I learned a lot in this video, and also you can learn a lot in this video that appears here that it was recommended, the YouTube algorithm, especially for you. So click on it right now.